Hi, my name is Ali and welcome to my channel. For today's video we have something slightly different that I've wanted to do for some time. I'll be talking about some things that I really need for them to happen in K-pop. Like right now, all of these things are just basically my wish list in K-pop, and in most of them I just go in a rant about my feelings in a certain topic. All of the things I'm going to be mentioning in this video are just my opinions. You don't necessarily have to agree with them, but please just be respectful. But without further ado, let's get started with thing number 1. Thing number 1. Girl groups doing 60s concepts. I genuinely can't believe that the retro concept has been so overdone, and yet not a single group has done a 60s concept, at least that I know of. I want to come back with a 1960s theme, and the song doesn't necessarily have to be 60s sounding, it could literally be pretty modern, but I just need a release with the 60s aesthetic. The whole 60s decade was amazing in terms of fashion. We got the mini skirt introduced, patent boots were thriving in all their glory, and the A-line dress was in its peak of popularity. I personally draw so much inspiration from the decade, plus there's so many ways they could take the styling. They could go for a full-on mod style, which I personally would love. But they can also go for a more Grease type of vibe, which was set in 1959 and still could very much apply for an early 1960s concept. They could even go all housewife aesthetic, which is referenced more to the 1950s decade, but still applies for the 60s era. I also said girl groups in the beginning because I absolutely love the female fashion of the decade, but I think that even boy groups could pull it off. I just love the decade so much, and I truly can't believe that I haven't seen anyone doing this type of concept. The 20s have been done, the 50s have been done, the 70s, 80s and 90s have been done multiple times, but no one has done a 60s concept, and I need for it to happen ASAP. The closest that I've seen to 60s fashion in K-pop is Twice Is What Is Love MV, particularly this scene that has so few seconds in the MV, but that totally represents 60s fashion. I just hope that someone in 2023 hears my prayers and does a 1960s concept. Thing number 2. For tropical house to make a comeback. This is a music genre that was extremely popular in K-pop around 5 years ago, but with each year that passes the genre fades more and more into oblivion when it comes to new releases. I personally love this genre so freaking much, is one of my favorite sounds in music, and I just want for groups and soloists to begin releasing it once again. To be completely fair, the genre hasn't died entirely since some groups are still releasing tropical house songs. Brave Girls have been kinda saving the genre. They released Kaim at Baram last year, and this year they released Whistle for Queendom 2, which was my favorite song from the whole show by far. But they also had a comeback earlier this year and it followed the retro sound instead. Some groups have been also keeping the genre alive, but only in the form of B-sides. Stacy released Slow Down, Stray Kids released The View, and Purple Kiss released Twinkle. I just want full comebacks with the title track being in this genre, like On and Off, who released Popping as a title track last year, and that song still remains as one of my favorite K-pop songs of all times. I know a lot of people are tired of it, and even think that the sound is outdated. The perfect example would be Ready for Love from Blackpink. The song is a typical tropical house song, and people were saying that it should have been released back in 2016 since now in 2022 it sounds old. But this genre used to be so popular, with releases like Ola Ola by Card, Coco Bop by EXO, Love You by Chungha, I Want You by SHINee, Why by Taeyeon, Way Back Home by Sean, and Nowhere by The Boys. I was even expecting for Winner to come back after so long with a tropical house song, especially because I kinda consider them the kings of this genre since they have amazing songs like Millions, Really Really, Love Me and Island. But they instead released a retro song. I also understand that with new genres like hyperpop being more relevant in K-pop, tropical house just has been fading slowly into the background, but I don't want that. I think that the producers could reinvent the genre to make it sound more interesting and modern, but I just can't let it die since I'm the biggest fan of tropical house. But with all that being said, let's move into the third thing. Thing number 3. Quirky concepts to make a comeback. Back in the second and third generation of K-pop, quirky and out-of-the-box concepts were so common, but now in the fourth generation we barely get to see them. The creative team behind groups and soloists used to be so much better, and that's how we got groups like Orange Caramel. The only groups that have been following that same type of concept in the 4th gen are WJS and Chocomi and a Pink Joe Bomb, both which are idols from the 3rd gen and just keep releasing music in the 4th gen era, and both are subunits from the original group. I haven't seen a single 4th gen group to do a quirky and fun concept. Most concepts in this generation are just non-existent. The releases usually just have the idols dancing and looking cool in a set with no creative thought behind it. I also don't expect every single group to have super ridiculous concepts, but maybe something more original like Twice Is What Is Love with the whole movie concept, and N-Flying with the TV programs. I just want something more than the idols dancing in a boring box set, especially from big companies who have insane budgets. I wasn't a fan when these type of concepts were on its peak, and maybe that's why I want for them to make a comeback. I also know that this isn't an unpopular opinion among K-pop fans since I've seen multiple people talking about it, so I hope that in 2023 the creative teams get a lot more creative. Thing number 4. More co-ed groups. I know this is not very likely to happen since the culture around co-ed groups in Korea is very controversial, and they aren't that profitable in the market, which is probably why we don't have a lot of co-ed groups, but I just need for there to be more groups. I personally think that co-ed groups have such a unique element that can't compare to anything else. I just freaking love when a man's voice and a woman's voice come together, especially when they complement each other, and that's not something you can have in girl groups or boy groups. Like, you can't tell me that the Cards members' voices don't sound amazing together and Ring the Alarm.
What's that sound is getting loud. Every time we come around, we're the ones they talk about. Turn it up and I'm turning down.
I also think that sonically this type of groups are so good, and at the same time the possibilities and limits are endless when they're making music. I know co-ed groups were a lot more common in the 2nd and 3rd generation of K-pop, but right now the only standing co-ed group is KARD. I'm a huge fan of them, and they've shown that a co-ed group can have a successful career even if they're still quite underappreciated. We recently got Checkmate, but they unfortunately only lasted a year, but they still gave us amazing bops like Drum In You. We also got 777 last year, which is a project group with the 3rd M members and B.I.G members, but they also haven't released more music together. In the past we also had duos and trios like Troublemaker and Triple H, both with Hyuna in them. In fact, their music was freaking amazing, and I just want something like that to make a comeback in the 4th generation. Right now in K-pop, idols from the opposite sex barely interact with each other unless they're siblings, but I just can't imagine the power they would have if idols from the same company made co-ed groups, even if it's just an occasional thing and not full-time groups. We saw how everyone went crazy when SM released Zoo, and I just want more of that, which is why I have my hopes in SM to give us another release like that. Currently we barely have a co-ed group, and my wish is that companies began to realize how profitable that type of group can be, and begin investing in them. But for the meantime, let's just go into the next thing. Thing number 5. Korean artists touring more cities in Latin America. Following the talk about co-ed groups, I just need for K-pop groups to come to Latin America a lot more than they currently do. KARD is in fact one of the few groups that actually tours most of Latin America, not my country, but that's a conversation for another day. As someone who currently lives in Latin America, I can confidently say that the market for K-pop in here is huge, maybe not at the same volume in every country, but in most of them the K-pop fandom is pretty big. Most groups, and artists in general, announced a world tour but only hit like 2 Latin American cities and think that counts as a Latin America tour, but in fact there are a lot more countries in here, and people would spend big money just for them to see them perform. I get that not a lot of groups have huge fan bases in every Latin American country, but if smaller groups like Blitzers and Omega X are coming to multiple cities in here, I can't justify for big groups like Blackpink, NCT and BTS to not hit most of the countries. There's just a bunch of people in this side of the world that have been waiting for ages for someone to come and do a freaking concert. This is literally just me ranting because I've never had the chance to go to a K-pop concert, and yes, I'm so salty about it. But with that all being said, let's move on to the next thing. Thing number 6. For idols to stop acting. I know some people are going to be pretty pissed about me saying this, but first of all, with this I'm not saying every idol should just stop going into acting. What I'm saying is that every good-looking idol doesn't need to go into acting. I always see netizens saying that this and that idol needs to go into acting because they're so pretty, but there's a lot more that takes into acting than just a pretty face. You can totally have the quote-unquote actor aura and still be pretty shitty at acting. There are plenty of idol actors that I genuinely think have an acting career just because they are conventionally pretty. There are also multiple dramas that caught my attention and the plot seems really good, but if the main lead is someone who sucks at acting, I'm just not going to watch it. There are so many people that spend years studying acting and are amazing at it but never get the recognition they deserve because there's someone pretty or probably less talented, but more popular, that gets the part. I don't expect idols to stop acting completely because I know a lot of them are genuinely interested in the industry and are incredibly good at it. Like Suzy and IU. But I also hate that just because someone is pretty and has a fan base automatically gets to be the lead in a production. The transition between idol and actor needs to be smoothly and not rushed. Beginning with minor roles and then slowly building up to main lead. This also doesn't happen only in Korea, but in every entertainment industry around the world, and it's such a shame. Not all actors are singers, so not all idols need to be actors. They are two separate careers that take different type of skills. Thing number 7. Better fashion in boy groups. If you've seen any of my videos, then you know I'm a huge fashion enthusiast, so of course I have to bring fashion into this because why are boy group styling so freaking bad? I always look forward to the fashion when there's a new release, but boy groups are always so disappointing. Girl groups usually always kill it when it comes to styling. Their styling team is really creative and always bring interesting things to the table, for the most part at least. But I genuinely don't understand how boy group stylists can be so bad at their job. Their outfits are always so boring and so freaking repetitive. They mostly use basic pieces and think that just because the members are matching it's fine, like it's so rare to see a boy group with genuinely amazing styling. Some groups always do the same for each comeback they have. For example, Stray Kids always have the most boring outfits, and they never have elements that differentiate one era from another, except their hair. They always do the same basic thing, and it's almost like each member has a silhouette that the styling team always stick to. Like ever since the stylists found out Bang Chan has abs, they always put him in a crop top. And when I put these pictures together you wouldn't even tell they are from different eras unless you stan them. On the other hand, we have boy groups like the Boys and 17, who always have completely different styling for each comeback, especially 17, like they never disappoint when it comes to fashion. Each era is completely different from the other in terms of fashion, and their styling team knows how to take advantage of the clothing and the colors to express the sentiment of each comeback. I really think that every group should have amazing styling, whether it be boy groups or girl groups, and even soloists. I know a lot of people have different opinions when it comes to having perfect styling, but for me good styling is having a distinct aesthetic and aura for each era, something you can see and pinpoint exactly to which release is from. I've actually been thinking of doing a video about what entails having good styling, so let me know if you're interested. But as a whole, I just want for boy group stylists to be a lot more creative than they are right now. They need to stop being so boring and playing it safe, like putting a male idol in a crop top was super creative around 4 years ago, but right now is just standard styling. I'm also completely aware that not every group has a lot of budget for the styling, but you don't need to wear designer brands to look good, and wearing designer brands doesn't mean you look good, so styling teams do freaking better. Thing number 8. Companies to be more aware of their underage idols. I know idols debuting at such a young age is something a lot of people have an opinion on, and I do so myself. But it's pretty unrealistic from us older fans to expect companies to just stop debuting young idols entirely. I think it's healthy that young people look up to idols their own age. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem comes with the creeps out there, and the companies don't do anything to prevent things. Just this year we got the whole Cookie scandal with New Jeans, and that whole thing could have been avoided entirely if their company did a better job managing the girls. I genuinely think that if you don't think Cookie is such an inappropriate song for minors to sing, then you have a problem. Like, the song clearly has a double meaning, with cookie being such a common slang word with another meaning, and the fact that their company just put out a full-on gaslighting statement saying the word cookie doesn't have any double meaning, when it's even in Urban Dictionary and pretty easy to see used by English-speaking people. There are also companies just blading over sexualizing minor idols, like I can never forget that Chew-E elevator commercial that JYP Entertainment made her do. There's been many instances where the companies make the idols show more skin or wear revealing outfits to catch the public's attention and make the group more famous, but against the own members' wishes. No one should ever be forced to wear something they're not comfortable wearing just so they can sell more albums. And not just female idols go through this, male idols also do. A lot in fact, but some people love to invalidate their experiences because they are boys. Hypen is a group known for struggling with this issue. When they debuted, most of the members were underage, and some still are, but there has always been disgusting comments from fans just sexualizing and harassing the boys. Excusing themselves, that is not sexualizing because they are boys and not girls, like what the fuck. If you're the same age as a young idol, it's totally normal to think that they are attractive, and still everything should come with a limit, but especially if you're a lot older than an underage idol, then you have no excuse. No idol, whether female or male, underage or legal adult, should be doing things that they don't want to, and the people behind the idols shouldn't be taking advantage of how good looking they are and how much they can sell by looking sexy or something ridiculous like that, especially since a lot of them are literally children and are already going through so much by just being in the public eye, plus on top they have a shitty company taking advantage of them. The companies should go above and beyond to protect their idols in every way possible, but sometimes earning money is a lot better for the higher-ups than just giving them a safe space, and that should never, ever, under any circumstance happen. Thing number 9. The K-pop industry to be a lot less ageist. Ageism is the discrimination of someone because of their age, and unfortunately age is a huge factor in the K-pop industry. The typical cycle of a K-pop idol is to debut in their teenage or young adult years, have their 7 years of contract, hopefully more if the group's is successful, and around their early 30s they either disband or just go into an indefinite hiatus. But the issue is that while they stop releasing new music, younger and more popular groups begin to pop off in the industry, and most of those older groups just fade away into the background. And I truly believe that a lot of that has to do with how the industry treats older idols. Companies at some point stop investing in older groups because they realize that newer and trendier groups are a lot more profitable, but the fact that an idol in their mid-30s is considered a dinosaur in the industry, it's completely insane to me. A lot of companies debuting super young idols is not a coincidence at all. They debut young idols so they can have a long-lasting career before they hit 30. For example, NCT's Mokna, Jisung, will be celebrating his 10th debut anniversary at the age of 24, same with New Jeans Hyun, and Hypen's Nicki, and a lot of more idols. But instead, in terms of male idols, if you debut around your early 20s, the chance of a male idol's having to do military service with the group not being even 5 years in the industry is more likely. And a group needs around 2 to 3 years to solidify themselves in the K-pop market, that's if they're lucky at least. So if the idol leaves for 2 years, with not a solid fan base, the chances of them having a successful career after they come back die down a lot. However, it's not entirely impossible. A lot of boy groups have managed to continue their career after coming back from the military, with the public seeing them as more mature and stronger people, but that unfortunately isn't the case for female idols. Female idols after a certain age are looked at a lot differently, but a lot more if they get married and have kids. Earlier this year a reality show called Mama the Idol aired, and the whole concept behind it was former idols that now are moms wanting to go back to the industry. A lot of them talked about how hard was coming back to the industry after giving birth, and how the industry basically rejected them for not being like the younger popular idols, and that's absolutely awful. Being older or a parent shouldn't be a reason to stop your career if you don't want to. Of course, it's not realistic to expect them to pull the same intense schedule they did in their rookie days, but that shouldn't be a reason for the industry to basically kick them out. I genuinely think that nowadays a lot of idols refrain from getting married or having kids until a lot later in their life, so that way their career isn't in jeopardy. But the industry should be a lot more accepting of older idols. And as a 22-year-old myself, I want people my age or older to begin debuting. I don't love standing people 8 years younger than me, and the whole idea that the older you get the less chances you have of debuting is absolutely ridiculous. There were all the things I need to happen in K-pop. I really hope that some of them become real in 2023, but we'll just have to wait and see. I actually tried to think of some more, to at least make 10 things, but I truly couldn't. Let me know if you agree with any of them, or even if you have your own things that want to happen. I usually do fashion-related videos, and those types of videos take so freaking long to plan and edit, so I usually don't have enough time to post videos like this one, but I really want to get, so I hope that I'll be able to do so more often. However, my fashion videos are not going anywhere because I genuinely enjoy doing them. And also, if you have any specific idea that you want me to do, then don't doubt leaving it in the comments. With all that being said, that was it for the video. I really enjoyed doing something different for a bit, and I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.